if it was the first time using a Gamify course.
I think Erik, it was the first time he did this particular music history course, right?
Yeah, I think that
Yes.
was the first time.
Was he familiar with the group of students from the course, like the 4 students who were?
I don't think so. I think he's pretty new in the 3 subjects: gamification, Google Classroom, and the contents of the course. But I don't know. I didn't ask too much about the familiarization with the subject, but maybe this is missing information.
No, because I think the only reason I'm wondering is I didn't see too many. Well, of course, in some cases that would be impossible for him, but too many comparisons. He didn't really compare very much to working with this gamification solution to his previous experiences working with, pen and paper and board games all that much, because he wasn't that experienced with it. That was my sense of the situation. Which, that's nothing you can do much about, but this kind of struck me as almost a little bit unfortunate for your sake that it was new teachers, you didn't get the frame of reference there. But I also wonder if you think Erik, in some sense, was kind of the ideal recipient for this type of solution, since he both had experience being a gamer himself and understood what this kind of stuff was about. He was probably a bit tech savvy too.
Yeah, well,
could you imagine this working as well with a teacher who is less tech savvy or less interested in this? Do you think he was better than the average teacher at being on?
Well, I think it could be hard to engage teachers with gamification when they are not aware of what is a game itself. Because even though Erik was really into games, because he said that he was a gamer, I think that he had problems to design the course, even with all this knowledge. So I think that the main challenge is to teach to the teachers that the game experience could be portrayed in the educational like a tool. That's something that could affect a lot this experience.
I think that's also part of, because we talk a lot about simplicity of use, which I think is absolutely correct. It has to be useful and easy for a teacher to get into. But do you think, in a sense, that the analog version of this type of game or learning management system is easier to convince teachers to use than a digital version?
If the analog way is easier to convince?
If it's easier to convince a teacher to work with an analog version rather than a digital one?
I think that could be represent extra work, and this is something is more easy to understand because you have something physical you are rewarding, like in kindergarten or something that I remember. I don't know if it is the same here in Sweden, but it means extra work. So they need to focus in this tool, and I think that if the teacher doesn't have this kind of extra worry about to create, imprint, and use resources to people or students that are already familiarized with digital experiences, I think that it's not worth it to try to bring the analog gamification.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting too, especially with the student perspective, because I have the exact same experience for grassroots with students when it came to. So our ambition was also to create a game experience that students would like to play at home as well, so to increase retention and have them engage with the subject matter more. But that didn't really happen, and I think that's just because when you're in a school environment, there's no competition with other games. It's not like they choose between playing Call of Duty and using your gamification solution. You're competing with their old traditional things that they found find to be less interesting. And then, well, of course, when they come home, they're not gonna keep working on my Minecraft math exercises when they have other games to play. So I think that's very natural to get that result where they won't really engage with it at home. Perhaps not even if you keep them as homework, it would be effective, you would assume. But I think that's more of a comment there. Okay. So I also was a bit interested towards the end, or throughout your work, and I think you mentioned this also during the presentation, but how much do you think you could really tell when it came to how well the gamification solution accommodated for the ADHD students? Like in the end, was it valuable for you to have both research question 2 and 3, or did they kind of end up becoming the same?
I'm not sure if I get the question. Can you repeat it, please?
So, do you think you were able to get enough data to answer both research question 2 and 3? Was your results nuanced enough to be able to talk about ADHD in particular, or is that too difficult for them?
Okay. I think that the information is not sufficient, because in a case study, if you get more information, it's even better. So I would like to have the information from the students, because they are the target audience. But the problem is that they have if you can see in the comments that they put in the surveys, were really short, like 2 or 3 words or one phrase. And this information is hard to gather even when you have a bunch of students, like 30 students, because they have several comorbidities, like autism spectrum or conduct disorder, or even the hyperactivity as well. So I think that a quantitative approach could be useful, but it's not that reliable neither, because this you can generalize the data. So that's a problem. I would like to have more information, but how useful could we have how much that information to generalize?
Yeah, for sure. No, it sounds like you were in a very tricky situation, but made the best out of it. Because I also had instances where I worked with a very small group of special needs students, for example, and questionnaires and surveys were essentially useless, and most of the information came from observations and from teachers, almost anecdotally telling or comparing how these students work with games rather than other teaching tools. So only being an indirect observer there must have been very complicated or difficult for you, sure.
Yeah,
so you also mentioned this during the presentation and in the paper of it, which I was very pleased by. But you mentioned that, at least the way I understood it or interpreted it, is these types of systems might have diminishing returns if they are used long term. Like a badge will stop being interesting the third week in, for example. Could you like just hypothesize if you think this type of solution would be useful for like a year or 2 years, or is it like a short thing that you use for a course every now and then?
I think that as Aidan made me a really good insight about it. Taking like a video game, like the normal video games that are used in like MMORPGs, that there's something that needs to change the game continuously. So when you are playing a game for a long time, you can get bored, or you can get sick or tired about the same mechanics. So I think that the novelty should be always triggered in order to have a long-term engagement. So if you change the rules, you change everything, and you can make new challenge and new missions. So that's a good way to maintain this like engagement and user experience. But if you use this application as it is, in the whole semester or 1 year, it could be in some point, I think, could be not engaging at all.
No, I think that is very interesting too, because it kind of gives these types of products a short shelf life if you don't essentially create an editor which helps teachers make up new rules or add new stuff to the game every semester or every course or something, which is of course very complicated. But again, I think that's part of why Minecraft education is so big, is because it's so flexible. Teachers can come up with new things every now and then. But yeah, it's very tough, for sure. So I think as a final very broad question, so as I said, your work is very thorough and everything. But I just wanted to ask, like, did something really catch you off guard or surprise you during the study? Like, did something like 5 weeks in you realized, like, oh, I never even considered this?
Yeah, well, the surprise was the results, because when I was building the application, I wasn't sure that it could be a good product, or because my approach was a minimal viable product. So in my ideas, in my design, in my mind, for me, I could add some more features, but the time was really limited. But even when this, can I say, dashboard, progression dashboard, non-interactive, had a good impact in a real class. So that was surprising, because when you are a gamer, you're used to have a lot of effects and in feedback, sound, movements, gravity, and